Hello, friends. The summer season is approaching the town of Tuapse on the shores of the Black Sea in what we could call the Riviera Z, and the heat is already starting to become unbearable, especially because the city's refinery is still in party mode. But everything is going as planned. The fires at the pumping station and at the Perm refinery also seem to remain active, and the goal is to stop the movement of crude oil from the extraction fields in Siberia. This is interesting. An FP-1 attack Mosquito from the defenders took an anti-aircraft hit to its nose, causing it to crash into a lagoon where it ended up floating upside down. This allowed a Russian drone to capture how the defenders are using them, not only to attack oil refineries and other strategic targets, but also to transport a couple of attack Mosquitoes. Apparently, they are being used mixed in with the first waves of raids to neutralize the mobile anti-aircraft groups that protect the priority targets. This clears the way for the main wave of heavy Mosquitoes. This is an innovation we've already seen a few days ago through the fierce nighttime battles between these Mosquitoes and the air defense groups of the city of Donetsk. A Ukrainian Mosquito is inspecting a house where apparently an unwanted visitor has taken refuge, who is finally found hiding inside a closet, and he's carrying a sword. Now that's what you call a disaster eviction issued. Sometimes Mosquitoes just wait at the door for Ivan to go outside and play, like in the case of this intruder who only realized the predator was there when it was already too late. Patience has its rewards. In another incident, a Ukrainian attack Mosquito named Marshan fails in its attack against a Ural truck, hitting it with its wing and detonating in the adjacent field. That was close, Ivan, but it'll have to be next time. Speaking of unwelcome visits, an observation drone from the invading horde watches as a heavy Ukrainian Mosquito, equipped with a belt-fed machine gun, harasses a position that the invaders have set up in a tree line. What you see falling are the containers of spent ammunition, most likely dropped to lighten the load and thus increase the aircraft's range. It's a good way to keep the invaders' heads down while the Ukrainians carry out some troop or aircraft movement. We continue with the topic of visits or evictions, whichever you prefer. In this case, the operation took place in February of this year when the Special Operations Unit of the Unmanned Systems Regiment, which is part of the 2nd Army Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine, carried out a fully robotic operation in Kupyansk, Kharkiv Oblast, to deputinize a group of 10 invading soldiers entrenched in urban positions. To accomplish the mission, a Tor 800 robotic system was used, which was equipped with a rocket launcher, working together with kamikaze ground drones loaded with hundreds of kilograms of explosives and attack Mosquitoes that provided intelligence and harassed the tourists to prevent them from changing positions. This team systematically destroyed the fortifications where the enemy was hiding, an ammunition depot, and allowed the subsequent advance of Ukrainian infantry units without their own casualties during the assault phase. The operation highlights the advanced integration of robotic ground vehicles for direct fire, breaching, and explosive deployment in urban and fortified environments. The use of remote and automated systems by Lava allowed for precise aiming in nighttime conditions using thermal imaging, while at the same time preserving the valuable lives of the defenders. This operation represents a low-risk, high-precision model for clearing operations in contested urban areas, and is yet another sign of Ukraine's increasing adoption of autonomous systems to compensate for shortages of personnel and artillery. Defense Minister Fedorov's intention is to increase the number of robotic system regiments in the Ukrainian armed forces, with at least one such unit for each Army Corps. To achieve this, orders for ground robotic systems have been doubled for this year. This is a great story. On May 1st, the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's Ministry of Defense announced the successful completion of a specific operation, a special operation that lasted several months, which made it possible to de-Putinize a large number of Kadyrovites, as the members of the infamous Akhmat unit are called, sent by the Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov to support the invasion of the horde. But anyway, what did these Ukrainians do now? Well, they established contact with a former member of Akhmat at the beginning of 2025 who managed to install a listening device inside the command meeting room of the unit. This gave the Ukrainian forces unprecedented access to the plans, movements, and internal discussions of the Kadyrovite command. Using this real-time intelligence, the Ukrainian special forces carried out a series of precision strikes against the Akhmat unit, with devastating results, killing 41 Chechens, wounding 87, and leaving more than 100 missing. Additionally, more than 160 armored and unarmored vehicles were demilitarized, over 25 surveillance drones, communication systems, electronic warfare equipment, engineering equipment, weapons, and fuel depots were destroyed or rendered unusable. This operation shows the contrast between the creative application of intelligence tactics by the defenders, which contrasts with the brute force approach used by the invaders. Each neutralized Akhmat fighter represents one less threat to Ukrainian civilians and defenders. On April 30th, Border Guards Day was celebrated, a branch of the defending armed forces made up of thousands of experienced personnel who were the first to face the invasion of the Z-Horde and who continue to fight on every front. This service is not only responsible for holding the line at the border, it also carries out reconnaissance missions, conducts evacuations, protects the population in border areas, and detects sabotage and reconnaissance groups that try to infiltrate the rear. An important job that never stops. Some members of the Border Guard Corps also wanted to celebrate their day, producing this video using artificial intelligence where they tell us that when evil approaches, someone must have the courage to face it. First, overcoming fear, because they have something to protect and something to fight for. That's why they send greetings to all their comrades who hold the line and pay their respects to all those who have fallen in the line of duty. If you want more content about the war in Ukraine, visit our 2 new channels where we share information in a different format. Be sure to check them out. Remember to visit our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Lastly, visit our store where you can find items inspired by some of Ukraine's most outstanding units. Carry history with you, and with every purchase, you'll be supporting the United 24 program, which directly supports reconstruction programs, aid to the civilian population, and defense. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel.